Today on Public Eye News, Delta Airlines asked the Department of Justice to put unruly passengers on no-fly lists. And U.S. officials say a Russian invasion of Ukraine could happen any day now.
Later, Madeline Plattenberg will have your weather, and Michael Cudahy will be back with your sports update. Hello, my name is Brennan Ford.
And I'm Michael Cudahy, and this is Public Eye News. A second man will plead guilty in the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Caleb Franks will join Ty Garbin, who are pleading guilty to the crimes that the FBI arrested them for back in October of 2020. Franks signed a document saying that he was not entrapped or induced to commit any crimes. Garbin, who pleaded guilty in 2021, was sentenced to just over 6 years in prison. Franks acknowledges that he was heavily involved in the plot, which included firearm training in Wisconsin and Michigan, along with scouting the governor's second home. And Danny Atkins, a man who was wrongfully convicted of murder, has been set free. His case for the murder of a 17-year-old back in 2005 was vacated after a request by the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit. In January 2006, Atkins was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. Atkins maintained his innocence, and Friday, the director of the CCIU, Valerie Newman, said, quote, "Mr. Atkins was not involved in any way, shape, or form in the murder of Billy Rutledge," unquote. And a man who is being held for an open murder charge after an elderly neighbor was found dead in their burning home. 57-year-old Jeffrey Dwayne Stratton was captured by police after trying to flee his home. A police dog led law enforcement to the home of Stratton after finding 72-year-old Linda Henry dead Friday afternoon. Officers were responding to a reported breaking and entering.
Governor Whitmer is setting forth a plan to lawmakers that's goal is to address the shortage of educators. This proposal will dedicate $2.3 billion over a 4-year period to recruit and retain teachers and other school staff. $800 million of this money will go toward recruiting and training the new educators and other staff. The K-12 school employees will receive up to a $2,000 bonus upon returning in the fall semester, a $2,000 bonus in 2023, and a $3,000 bonus in 2025. While shortages in the school department have been felt prior to COVID, the pandemic has greatly affected the number of those leaving the occupation. And moving on to some Wisconsin news, Amazon is planning on building a $200 million 5-story distribution center in Dane County. This facility in Cottage Grove could employ 1,500 and would operate 24 hours a day. While beneficial for the economy, nearby residents are worried about the pollution, noise, and traffic that this facility will bring. The Cottage Grove Village Board has given preliminary approval, but will vote on the implementation plan later this month. And don't touch that dial, because after this break, we will be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
On American Experience.
Jeans are the quintessential American garment.
They are universal and individual at the same time. But it's always the same story.
It's about the cowboys in the West. It's about Levi Strauss and the gold rush.
And yet so much of the story we tell about jeans is a myth.
Riveted, the history of jeans on American Experience.
Tonight at 9 on WNMU-TV.
And welcome back. If you're flying on Delta Airlines anytime soon, make sure to behave, as Delta CEO Ed Bastian said in a letter to the Department of Justice that passengers that disrupt flight safety should be added to the no-fly list. Most flights happen with no problems from passengers, but according to Delta, the rate of incidents on the airline has doubled since 2019. Delta has added 1,900 names to its company's no-fly list and has passed 900 along to the Transportation Security Agency for civil penalties. Since the start of last year, Delta has been pushing for more reporting, investigating, and prosecuting of those that do not comply with the flight attendants and onboard safety. And protests continued in Minneapolis after the death of Amir Locke by the hands of Minneapolis police executing a no-knock warrant. Protesters gathered outside the home of interim police chief Amelia Huffman, chanting Locke's name along with that of Breonna Taylor, another person of color who was killed on a no-knock warrant in Kentucky in 2020. Protesters also chanted for the interim chief's job as some voiced as some voiced frustrations, as reforms are only made when the jobs of those in power are threatened. Locke was sleeping on the couch under a blanket with what his family says is a legally registered firearm. Minneapolis SWAT entered the residence, startling Locke awake, where he was shot 3 times. Minneapolis has placed a moratorium on no-knock warrants. And turning to the pandemic, government efforts in Canada to control the coronavirus have run into a wall of protests from people opposed to vaccine mandates and other restrictions. In the capital city of Ottawa, thousands of truckers and others have clogged the city's streets for more than 10 days. Ottawa's mayor has now declared a state of emergency. The protests spread to other cities, and protesters are getting major support from the U.S. CBS's Mola Lange has more.
What started as a protest against U.S. and Canadian rules requiring truckers to be fully vaccinated to enter either country has erupted into a movement of thousands against the Canadian public health system.
We don't need the government to overreach to tell us what to do.
The unvaccinated for 2 years have been shamed and thrown under the bus.
The protesters took to the streets for the second week in a row with a convoy of semi-trucks blocking intersections. They brought downtown Ottawa to a halt, disrupting businesses and flooding police with calls about everything from incessant honking to threats and assault.
We're in the midst of a serious emergency, the most serious emergency our city has ever faced.
On Sunday, Ottawa's mayor declared a state of emergency, asking for outside help as local authorities say they are outnumbered, and the police chief described being under siege. The protests have drawn praise from former President Donald Trump, and Ottawa police say the convoy is getting significant logistical and financial support from people in the United States. On Friday, GoFundMe shut down a fundraiser for the so-called Freedom Convoy, which had garnered nearly $8 million. In a statement, the company said it was done as a result of multiple discussions with local law enforcement and police reports of violence and other unlawful activity.
Someone is going to get injured or seriously killed if they don't understand the severity of the situation.
I'm Mola Lange,
CBS News.
Widespread flooding and landslides caused by torrential rains in Puerto Rico have caused several schools to close. Several cities in Puerto Rico are being affected by this rainfall, with some places receiving 6 inches of rain in 6 hours, and most notably, Tawa Alta receiving 16 inches this weekend. Coastal areas are experiencing waves up to 13 feet high from these inclement conditions. These events have also ripped trees from the ground, forcing main roads to close, and left several in shelters due to their homes flooding. And the Omicron variant is spreading rampantly through Russia, resulting in a spike in new COVID cases. While daily new cases are reaching 17,000, daily deaths from COVID-19 are holding steady or declining. Due to the surge being more effective toward children, schools in Russia have switched to remote learning, and St. Petersburg even temporarily banned minors from several public places. Russian President Vladimir Putin states that there aren't any lockdowns planned despite growing cases. And also in Russia, U.S. officials say a Russian invasion of Ukraine could happen any day now. U.S. troops are moving in position to defend NATO countries and act as a deterrent against Russia. CBS's Laura Podesta has details.
Members of the 82nd Airborne landed in Poland this weekend as the U.S. builds up its forces in Eastern Europe.
Obviously, during this period of uncertainty, we know that we are stronger together.
U.S. officials are hoping to deter a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
We're in the window where something could happen.
More than 100,000 Russian troops are along the Ukrainian border. Sources tell CBS News that's about 70% of what's needed to launch an offensive.
This is the single greatest threat Europe has faced since the 1940s.
If war breaks out, it will come at an enormous human cost to Ukraine, but we believe that based on our preparations and our response, it will come at a strategic cost to Russia as well.
U.S. military estimates are that an invasion could cause as many as 100,000 civilian casualties and 5 million refugees. Russia's deputy ambassador to the United Nations called that madness and scaremongering in a tweet, and added, what if we would say that U.S. could seize London in a week and cause 300,000 civilian deaths? President Biden was asked by reporters what Russian President Vladimir Putin is looking to accomplish.
I think things he cannot get.
Mr. Biden will meet with the new German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the White House today. Germany has been criticized for not doing more to support Ukraine. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
And after this break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
Evolution left these birds flightless, but that doesn't mean they can't fly. For the first time, meet all 18 species, every member of this remarkable family. From unique forest penguins to penguins that have embraced the modern world, they'll do whatever it takes to adapt and thrive.
Wednesday night at 8 on WNMU-TV.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Madeline Plattenberg with your weather. If you look behind me at NMU's campus, it's looking like a chilly trip to classes today. If we're looking at current conditions, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a temperature of 22 degrees. Winds are north-northwest at 12 miles per hour. Pressure is 30.14 and falling. Looking at tonight, it's partly cloudy skies with a low of 10. Winds are south-southwest at 7 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a high of 33. Winds are south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Looking at temperatures across the UP, in Sault Ste. Marie, it's 28 degrees and snowy. Down in Manistee, it's 27 degrees and snowy. Looking at Escanaba, it's 27 degrees and cloudy. Down in Menominee, it's 28 degrees and partly cloudy. In Iron Mountain, it's 24 degrees and partly cloudy. Looking at the other half of the UP, up in Iron Mountain, it's 24 degrees and partly cloudy. Ironwood is 21 degrees and snowy, 21 degrees and partly cloudy in Houghton, and in Marquette is 22 degrees and partly cloudy. Looking ahead to a weather forecast for the week, Wednesday our high is 31 degrees with a low of 13 degrees and cloudy. Thursday a high of 21 degrees and a low of 18 degrees, also cloudy. And Friday a high of 21 degrees, cloudy, and a low of 12 degrees. Mike Cuddy has your sports.
And thank you. And the Northern Michigan hockey team took a trip to Bemidji in Minnesota for a series against the Beavers. Friday night had Bo Hansen and David Kiefer scoring the Wildcats' only goals, but Charlie Glockner held down the net to get the 2-1 win. Controversially, Saturday night, the Wildcats were denied a major power play due to the replay system not working, upsetting both coaches. Glockner also took a hard hit in the second period and had to come out of the game, with Nolan Kent coming in and giving up 3 goals in the 5-3 loss. Northern needs to win 4 of their remaining 5 games to get a home playoff series in the CCHA tournament. And the Chicago hockey team has hired a new general manager. Previous GM Stan Bowman resigned after it came to light that he covered up one of his coaches sexually assaulting a team prospect and former first-round pick Kyle Beach. Peter Chiarelli will step in after being GM for the Edmonton Oilers and Boston Bruins. His best track record is far behind him. In Boston, when he was able to trade Phil Kessel for 2 firsts and a second, that helped his team win a Stanley Cup before trading away young team superstar Tyler Seguin. Chiarelli also failed to put a winning team around Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in Edmonton, best known for trading away eventual MVP Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, who the Oilers let leave in the Seattle Kraken expansion draft for nothing. And let's Lance Stroll over to Formula One as the team has finally unveiled what their car will look like for the 2022 season. American team Haas, with its Russian sponsor Uralkali, are sticking with the same look for the car as they did last season during the 2021 season. Haas failed to score a single point and even had second driver Nikita Mazepin finish 21st in the 20-driver championship. Haas abandoned upgrading the 2021 car midway through the season to focus the development on the 2022 car. Haas will continue to use a Ferrari engine and gearbox that it has been for the past few years, but will reportedly have to develop more parts themselves after changes in the rules. And that's all the time we have for you today. I'm Michael Cudahy.
And I'm Brennan Ford. Thanks for joining us here on Public Eye News. We'll see you tomorrow.
Studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.